All right. I believe we are now live. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm sure mostly gentlemen, but for all the ladies to check out the channel as well, what is going on, everybody? We're gonna try and do this again because we tried to do this, I think it was like a week or so ago, and that did not go too well. Actually, it might have been even 2 weeks at this point that we tried to do this video with Arcade1Up's live stream, and that didn't go too well. But as always, I'm going to let YouTube send out the notifications to give everybody a few minutes to get in here. This was kind of like a last minute stream, at least for myself. I planned to film a video today, but ended up doing a stream because I saw the news this morning, actually. Of course, the one day that I'm not home, Arcade1Up decides, hey, we're going to do the video, the stream that we've been talking about with the Arcade1Update Show. We're finally going to do that on the night that I'm not home, that I'm at the movies watching Ant-Man. So go ahead and go figure, right? So yeah, I went on YouTube this morning. I was like, what the heck, man? They finally did the show the one night that I wasn't home. They didn't even announce the show, which, I mean, to be fair, Travis said in his interview with Moat that he's just going to make them shock drop the interview, essentially, so that they can't get everyone's hopes up. But it did suck not knowing in advance. I mean, even though for me, it wouldn't have made a difference because I was still going to see Ant-Man regardless, so I would have still had to do the whole live stream reaction type of thing today. And we're not going to actually watch the video because I'm sure everybody has seen it by now, but I did want to talk about the video. I wanted to give my opinions, but I also wanted to hear from all of you guys. How did you feel about the show? Was it what you were looking forward to? Did it meet your expectations? Was it worse than you thought? I know for me personally, I think it was actually worse than I thought it was going to be. We didn't really get a lot of questions answered, which kind of sucks because, I don't know, we were supposed to, Travis made it seem like we were going to get some amazing, just, you know, eye-opening answers from Arcade1Up, and they didn't really answer too much that we didn't already know, which is kind of disappointing, at least on my eyes. I know Michael B, you know, he made a video earlier today and he actually got a lot of useful information out of it, but for me personally, I didn't really feel like there was that much useful information. Now, I did write a whole bunch of notes down, and I have, you know, a whole set of notes right here to kind of go through and talk about, but I wanted to, you know, I wanted to get everyone else's opinion on what they thought of the show first, and just kind of, you know, have a discussion on the positives and negatives of the show, what they can do better for next time, and, you know, hopefully maybe in next month in March, when they do, hopefully they do another update, Arcade1Update show, they can improve upon some things because, I don't know, I just feel like they didn't really answer that many useful questions, I guess. But they did have a couple interesting things to say, I will admit that. So we'll get into all that shortly. I did see that there was a comment in here, but it disappeared. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can pull it back up. Let's see. I think it was right. Nope, it was here. I don't know where that comment went.
Greetings, travelers! The Wander card from Credit One Bank bestows points for all their journey's expenses, like rental cars, hotels, flights, feasts.
Get up to 10 times the points on hotel.
I don't think so. It just doesn't seem like that is necessarily up their alley right now. Especially, you gotta think, like, they haven't really done anything with Taito ever since, Space Invaders, and that was like early on. That was like, what, 2018, maybe 2019, and we never saw it again. That seemed like it was like a one-off, like a one-and-done type of thing, because I think it was the anniversary of Space Invaders, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't think we've really seen anything else from them since then. And Data East, I don't believe they've done anything with, and Konami, it's tough to do like a legacy cab with Konami because you have so many different individual properties on top of just needing Konami. You have Simpsons, you have Turtles, amongst a few other games as well, and it's just too many. I think too many just moving parts of different, you know, other different properties to stick into one cabinet. And I know Konami has the license for, you know, the games, but Nickelodeon still has to sign off on Ninja Turtles, and Nickelodeon may not want Ninja Turtles in the same cabinet with Simpsons, who is what is that, ABC or Fox, one of the stations. So who knows? I don't think that would happen, though. I don't think any of those three would happen. But I do want to start going over the notes. I feel like we've talked already for a few minutes. I do want to go over the notes. If you are in the chat, definitely let me know. I'm not seeing any chats popping up yet, but if you are in the chat, make it known. What did you guys think of the Arcade1Update show? And I'm just going to start going over all the stuff that they talked about. So they started off the show, and I have all my notes here. They started off the show talking about why the previous show was postponed. If you guys are not aware, they were supposed to do this show originally like 2 weeks ago, and they set up a live stream and then just didn't do the live stream, didn't say anything, didn't tell anybody, and just left everybody out there wondering, what the heck happened, right? So they this was the most disappointing for me because they didn't really address anything. All they said was, David McIntosh, all he said was basically just some, PR stuff, play it safe, legal terms, this and that, whatever. And, but they didn't really explain why it didn't happen or why. I mean, they said why it didn't happen, but legally they can't go into specifically why it didn't happen, but everybody in the community knows exactly why it didn't happen. It's because of the whole Mortal Kombat 4 drama that happened, but they said that the show didn't happen, but they didn't explain why they didn't just communicate to everybody, send out a tweet or something saying that, hey, we're not doing the show. And that was really the most frustrating thing to me is I still, after all of this, I still don't feel like they 100% understand communication, right? Because, they didn't even acknowledge the fact, they acknowledged the fact that they didn't do the show, but they didn't acknowledge the fact that they didn't acknowledge the fact that they weren't doing the show, if that makes any sense, right? So it's like, yeah, we understand that you didn't do the show, but at least let us know you're not going to do the show. And the fact that they didn't address that is kind of bothersome to me. So, hopefully they, going down the line, they get it at some point. I don't know if they're ever going to, because, I mean, we're going on, what has it been, 5 years now of Arcade1Up, so I don't know. I don't know if they understand communication properly. But moving on, they addressed the pinball situation, which I don't have any of the pinball machines. I'm not big into the virtual pinball. I can never get into it. I prefer the physical, mechanical pinball. I don't like digital pinball whatsoever. So this didn't really interest me or affect me, but they did admit that their pinball machines have gotten way too expensive. And I mean, that is 100% true. Pinballs, their machines started out at like $500-$600. Now they're easily reaching about $1,000. So they did admit that the pinball is way too expensive, and they are in the middle of revisiting the pinball, seeing what they can do differently. I guess essentially what shortcuts that they can take to bring the price of the pinball machines down. And it is good to see that is a focus of theirs on lowering the cost, because these machines, guys, granted, this Mortal Kombat 2 behind me, Mortal Kombat 2, oh my god, my brain is fried from work. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 behind me is leaps and bounds better than the Gen 1 Street Fighter or, Mortal Kombat, and any of those versions that came out, right? So, yes, we've seen improvements as far as the shape, as far as the screens, the speakers, Wi-Fi, leaderboards, all of that. But these machines have gotten pretty pricey, with Marvel vs. Capcom 2 costing like $600, and even like the X-Men vs. Street Fighter, I think at one point was like $700 or something like that. So all of these things have gotten extremely, extremely expensive as the years have gone on. So it's nice to see that they are making it a focus, not only with the cabinets, but for pinball as well, to bring those prices down and bring the cost down. I just hope that they don't have to take any shortcuts that takes away from the pinball experience for those who are interested in the virtual pinball. Another thing that they addressed was their website renders, on why it takes retailers so long to update stuff, or why the promo images on the website don't exactly match what is on what the actual product is when you get it. Obviously, Arcade1Up makes a render, and those renders get sent out to the retailers, and those get uploaded to the website. But during production, during whatever, things change, things are tweaked, and new renders are made and not necessarily sent to the retailers in time. Or if they are sent to the retailers in time, the retailers, you got to think, like Target, how many brands and companies do they work with? Same with Walmart and all these other retailers. It's going to take them a while to actually get to your one individual Arcade1Up image and update it properly. Now, is that 100% true? And some of it's, some fluff? I think it's half and half, because Michael B did point out that on Arcade1Up, directly on their website, the Attack on Mars pinball machine still doesn't have the correct rendered image on there. So, I mean, Arcade1Up's not even updating their stuff, and they have no excuse because they are literally the company doing it. So, but I do understand the whole thing about, working with the retailers and the retailers updating their website, that is out of Arcade1Up's control whenever a retailer, fixes or updates a product listing on their website. So I do understand it from that point. I didn't really care about that section too much myself personally. Then they also started dropping some fun facts, which this actually blew my mind a little bit. It said that at one point they were making 90 products a year. You really have 90 products a year. And granted, some of them are like multiple Pac-Mans or different scales of Pac-Mans, whether it is the 3/4 scale arcade or the countercades or whatever else. But 90 products a year, that is absolutely an insane number. And when you really think about 90 individual products on the market in 1 year, that's actually pretty crazy. That doesn't, that has nothing to do with anything. They just kind of threw that out there. And when you really think about it, that is absolutely insane to have 90 different products in 1 year from a company. And that they also have made more arcades, or made and sold more arcades in the last few years than arcades were sold in the 80s and 90s combined. Now, that's kind of tricky because you got to think arcades in the 80s and 90s weren't really being bought by regular people like us. They were being bought by, companies, movie theaters, pizza shops, things like that. People weren't really buying them to put in their home. They were bought essentially by businesses to put in their business. And those things, I'm sure in the 90s cost, who knows, but probably, let's say, $1,000 per arcade. That's just my guess. I have no idea. And that's in 90s money. That's in 80s money. So in today's money, that's what, $2,000-$3,000 per arcade, something like that. Obviously, these are more affordable. They're going to reach more people. They're being sold in mass quantities to regular retail stores. So I understand it makes sense, but it's a marketing thing, really, right? They are saying that, hey, we have sold more arcades than arcades were sold in the 80s and 90s, but I don't feel like that's a good like apples to apples comparison there, but it is a pretty interesting stat nonetheless. Moving on, this interested me. They were talking about the remakes, right? Like, why do we have 50,000 different versions of Pac-Man and all these different versions of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and we keep seeing the same thing in different variations over and over and over again. And it was nice to see that they did admit that, yes, they don't even know how many versions of Pac-Man are out there because there are so many. I don't even know. Who knows how many versions of Pac-Man they have out there? I honestly have no idea. And they don't even know themselves, which is crazy. But they did say something that was interesting, right? The reason that they keep making so many Pac-Man, so many Street Fighters, so many Mortal Kombats, all the cabs that we keep seeing be re-released with, different form factors, different variations, those keep selling, so they're going to keep making them. If they keep selling, there's no reason for them to stop making them. And you have to think, the regular casual person that's walking through Walmart and sees a Street Fighter or a Pac-Man, arcade, and that takes them back to their childhood, and that's an impulse buy. That's where they make most of their money, right? It's nice that we're the dedicated, loyal fans, but other than Michael B., who else is buying every single cabinet, And this is no shots at Michael B. I love Michael B. And I'm just having fun. But, I mean, that honestly, Michael, come on now. You how many cabs can one person own? You have them all. Just give up already. But it's all fun and jokes. But all the Pac-Mans that sell, all that money that they're making off of that is the reason why we're able to have things like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, like, whatever else, Big Buck Hunter, just all those other obscure titles, all the money that they make off of Pac-Man and all the re-releases, that goes into the funding for these cabs that all of us want. So while I'm not happy that we have 47,000 different versions of Pac-Man, at least it's able to get us things like this. Now, granted, we don't have things like this as often as we'd like to see them, but I mean, you got to think, if they keep coming out with obscure titles that only, the true arcade fans and enthusiasts are going to know, they're not going to sell as much and make as much money, and they're not going to be able to stay afloat like that. So it makes sense from a business perspective. Excuse me. And while I'm not happy to see it, I understand why they have to keep doing it. So moving on in the rest of my notes. So another issue we've had, other than re-releases, is all these different cabinet models and sizes. We have the 3/4 scale, the countercades, oh my god, the partycades. That's what I was looking for. Partycades, countercades, pro sizes, XL sizes. There's so many different scales and variations, and it's kind of getting out of hand to keep up with everything and trying to determine what's what. And the pricing for everything is all over the place. And it's nice to see that they actually admitted it, right? And it's going to be a focus of theirs this year to streamline everything across the board, to cut out some of those in between variations or sizes, I should say, and cut it down and streamline it, and maybe have only like three to four maybe like sizes. So you'll have your regular 3/4 scales like this. You'll have the deluxe model, I think is what they're calling it now, that has the riser kind of built into the body of the cabinet, and then maybe like an XL or a Pro. Like, that's all they're trying to do. And to be honest, that's really what they should have done from the beginning. But they didn't, and now we're here. But it is good to see that they have at least finally like came to the realization that they just have too many variations, and they really need to just streamline everything, have a uniform setup for everything. And that also breaks down to the pricing as well. Their prices are wildly all over the place, because you have a regular 3/4 scale that doesn't come with the riser for $300. Then you have versions that come with the riser and the stool for like $500 or $600. You have the XLs that are like $800, the Pros that are like $1,000. All these different pricing variations, and they also want to work to streamline that pricing as well and keep it, consistent, where it's, the 3/4 scales without the risers will be $300, the deluxe will be $500, and you may have like an XL or Pro that, maybe is $800 or $700 or even $1,000, depending what they do. But yeah, see, that's the thing though. They said it may vary, right? One game may take more research and development or tweaking or ROM retooling, or just the license for that particular game costs more than the license for a Pac-Man or something like that. So they're going to have to essentially, certain cabinets may cost more than others. So it's still not going to be like a clear cut, like, hey, this is how much the price for everything's going to be.
Find
but,
it.
It will be interesting
Try
to
it.
see here.
Paint it.
I don't know why I'm not... Okay, here we go. For some reason, like, all the comments that are in here just randomly popped up. That was very strange. I don't know if people have been commenting before or not, but let me get to some of these comments here. EJ says, we need another big blue. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the design of the big blue cabinet. Now, I know it's true to the original cab, but it's just a weird shape, and I don't like it. That's even down to the original cab. But the games list on there was pretty good, and it's like a modding platform as well. And I know that was a very popular cabinet. I would imagine they'll bring out another variation at some point, just because it was so popular. Kid Son says, your room inspired me the other week to get mines in order and together. Thank you. Hey, I appreciate it, man. My room, I mean, it looks pretty organized here, but I got a lot of stuff on the other side of the camera that's on the floor, and that's pretty much my life week to week. Like, I have a busy week at work or whatever, and I don't have time to really organize everything in the room, so I end up making a pile in the room, and it builds up for like a week or two, and then I finally get annoyed with it and take the time out to organize everything. But once everything's organized, man, I'm so proud of this room, but I'm even more proud of the fact that I can inspire other people. That means a lot to me, so I really appreciate that. Going on to the next topic that they talked about, and I don't want to spend too much time in this video just because I don't have too much time today, so we'll see. Maybe we'll end it by 6:30. But if you guys got any questions or anything you want to talk about, drop them in the comments. Moving on, they talked about the monitors on why most cabinets have the nice crispy BOE monitor, and then the other ones have the garbage ones that have horrible viewing angles and everything looks washed out. And it basically just came down to supply issues, right? So they want to put the BOE monitor in every single cab, but they don't necessarily have the supply in time or whatever, and instead of just waiting for the supply, they just use essentially whatever they have laying around, which is those other garbage monitors that we get. And they just throw them in the cabs, whatever works, I guess. So, but they do want to go forward, strive for every single cab to have a BOE monitor in it, which, I mean, this Marvel vs. Capcom one is absolutely beautiful. I think all of my cabinets actually have, except for maybe the Pac-Man Legacy Edition. I think that one has the garbage monitor in it. to be honest, I haven't even really played it since I bought it. It was more of just like an impulse buy because it was on sale or on clearance for like $100, and I bought it and powered it on, played it once maybe, and that was it. It's more of a display item for me. Anyways, moving on to the big news. Finally, they finally addressed the online situation for Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and I think I could speak for everybody when I say that none of us were thrilled whatsoever with the information. I mean, it was pretty much information that we all knew already. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is still in the works and still on the way for, to come out. But I don't know why the comments are not coming in. All right, so I have to keep this tab open here. I don't know why I'm not seeing. Just gonna pause that. Okay. Alright, so Big B73 says, yeah, they're all over the place with their sizes. Yeah, so many different variations, man. I mean, in some aspect, that's good, right? For people who want options. Maybe not everybody has the space for full arcade size, stuff like this. Maybe they want the smaller versions, which, is good, but there's just so many options out there. It's like, it's really hard to keep track of everything. Man, countercades, partycades, casino cades, deluxe cabs, pro models, XLs, the virtual pinballs, the regular 3/4 scales. Then you got the different variations of the 3/4 scales. 3/4 scales without the riser, with the riser, with the riser and the stool, with no riser but the stool. You had the Simpsons that had, I think, the riser, the stool, a metal tin. So there's just so many different variations out there. And like I said, it's good for people who want options, but it can also get very, very confusing. You turned your Marvel vs. Capcom 2 into a big blue expensive mod, but happy with it. I've seen a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, but I did see some people do that. Or they turned their big blue into Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Something like that. I don't know, but I've seen people do that in the Facebook groups, and it looks cool, and, looks a little bit more true to different versions of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, like the original cabinets. So that is pretty cool. Anyways, moving on. I forgot what I was talking about. Okay, so Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the online. So it's still in the works. We still don't have really any information from it. I'm glad that they finally addressed it in some way, but it's like, it was very anticlimactic, because even Travis, in Moat's interview, kind of hyped it up a little bit, but he also said that the answer changes from day to day, right? But I don't know. If your reply was going to be like, we're still working on it, it's still in the works, but it's getting close to finish, you could have said that like a long time ago and addressed the community that way. But again, they don't understand communication, so I get it, right? I'm just thinking. But they kind of alluded to maybe next month they'll have more information or more stuff they can talk about with Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in regards to the online situation. So that is exciting. I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens with that. Maybe we'll get online finally next month, so you guys can all destroy me on here. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is the game I'm most familiar with on this cabinet, so when I put the most time into growing up, and even since I got this cabinet. And as you guys saw in my last live stream, I actually absolutely got murdered in Marvel vs. Capcom 1 by every single person that joined the stream. So but also for some reason, and I haven't tested it out since, I couldn't pull off specials for some reason, so I don't know if I have button issues on this or whatever. I probably should try that, but I know all the time I put in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on here, I didn't have any issues, so it was kind of strange. All right, moving on to the last few things here, and this I was actually really, really proud of at least, David McIntosh speaking on Arcade1Up's behalf. But with the pro models, the Killer Instinct pro model, they admitted basically that they were in over their heads with that, right? They tried to do this amazing pro model and have all these crazy features and expensive parts and, all of this, and charge $1,000 for it. And then, the product came out and it was subpar, to say the least. And it was just nice to see David McIntosh just kind of take the blame, I guess, on behalf of the company, and just, admit that they were in over their heads with it, and that they need to go back to the drawing board. And if they decide to do a pro cabinet again, they have a lot more research and time and development that needs to go into something like that. That's not really something that they can just throw together and think because it's a pro model, people are going to be happy and it's going to sell. that clearly wasn't the case with a lot of people. All right. Where are my notes? I think we got... They mentioned something about having a focus group. We got two more things. They mentioned something about having a focus group, and he just kind of dropped it in there and didn't really say much more about it. So I don't really know what that means, if they're going to have people testing or whatever the case may be. So it'll be interesting to see, but apparently they're going to be looking into doing focus groups. And then the final thing, which was really interesting to me, is they said that Arcade1Up has 98% of, I guess, like the licenses in the arcade space, right? They own or are in talks with companies, and they have 98% of the market, which is a little interesting when you think about it, because 98% is a lot of companies and game titles that we haven't seen or heard from. I mean, we've seen, you know, the Namco stuff. We've seen the Capcom stuff, and Midway. I'm trying to think of what else. Those are like the main heavy hitters. And then you have stuff like the Taito one-offs that they did with Space Invaders and, you know, Big Buck Hunter, whoever makes Big Buck Hunter. And it's just like we haven't seen anything from SNK. We've seen some stuff from Konami. I don't think we've seen anything from Data East. And there's just a lot of different games and companies that we haven't seen from. So I don't know what that means, if that 98% was just a number they threw out there. Obviously Nintendo is going to be part of that 2% that they don't have. I don't think there's any way Nintendo is giving out their licensing for arcade games. I just don't see it. People have been wanting it since day one, but I don't see it whatsoever. So yeah, 98%, that's a lot. That's, when you really think about it, that's a lot of games and companies that we haven't seen yet to say that they have 98%. I'm not saying they're lying or anything like that, but it's just interesting, if they have 98%, why have they put out the games that they put out and not put out other games, right? But I really do hope that they do have that 98%, because that means the future is very bright for Arcade1Up and us as fans going down the line. There's so many possibilities of stuff, and that really means that nothing is off the table, hopefully. So hopefully we'll be seeing this, because you guys know this is the one cabinet that I'm waiting for. NFL Blitz, Tekken 3, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, my top 3 cabinets. I say this every time I do an Arcade1Up stream. And NFL Blitz, I still haven't got around to purchasing yet. I want to, but I can't do it right now. I guess I was going to make a separate video on this, and I still might, because I don't think a lot of people are going to get the message in this stream. Oh, by the way, this is a coaster too. This isn't even the actual game. It's a coaster. It's what I have my drink on. But I can't be spending the money, because if you guys follow me on Instagram, you will see that I have a kid on the way. I'm having a baby girl, and it's still wild to even say that, but yeah, I got my first child is on the way. So that's why I'm trying to save as much money as I can, and the reason why I haven't jumped the gun on NFL Blitz yet, because I need to save as much money as possible. I'm probably going to do a separate video just kind of doing like an official announcement of, hey, I'm having a kid and it's a girl or whatever. But if you guys are in the stream now, you guys got the news first. So very excited. Baby's due in August, and you know, that will be very interesting. I'm going to have like vlogs and stuff on my vlogging channel with Christina, who is my wife. We have a separate channel that we do like theme park vlogs and stuff on. So if you guys want to see any of that, any of my vlogs or anything with the baby in the future, you know, definitely check that out. It's JNC Adventures. I'll drop a link in here. You don't have to feel obligated to check it out, but if you guys are interested and want to keep up with my more personal side of my life, and not just all the cool nerdy stuff, I will drop that right now in the chat. So that's so weird. Even that didn't show up on the chat for me. I have to come over here to see it. So very, very strange. But anyways, so I don't know. Overall, I just feel like they had some interesting stuff in the Arcade1Update show, but it was kind of lackluster for me. They didn't really answer a lot of questions. They didn't really give us much new information. But I'm glad to see that they are taking that step towards getting better at communication. So that's at least nice to see. But I mean, other than that, unless you guys have your own opinions, I would love to hear in the chat below. If you have your own opinions or takeaways from the Arcade1Update show, or just anything Arcade1Up related, definitely, you know, drop that in the chat. But other than that, I think I'm just about ready to get out of here. I got a lot of stuff to do the rest of the night, but I'll stay on for a few more minutes just to give everybody a chance, if they haven't already, to drop a comment here. And also, make sure you guys drop a like on this video. If you would kindly, please do so. I really appreciate you guys for doing that. It helps me out, helps the channel out, gets this video or this stream out to more people, and the more eyes on my channel, the better. So, other than that, I'm just seeing if any more chats are coming through, and it's so weird that I'm not seeing the chats over here, and I have to actually open up a separate web page. So I don't know what's going on with that, man. Technical difficulties. But it doesn't look like we've gotten any more chats as of yet. Let me just refresh and just make sure, because I don't want to skip over anybody. And my chats are acting weird. Loading. Yeah, it doesn't look like we got any other chats. So, alright guys, as I always say, I appreciate everybody who came through. Even though we didn't have that many people in here today, but I know it was kind of just like a random stream at the last minute, so not many people were probably aware of it. But for everybody that came through, whether you're here for 30 seconds, a minute, the whole time, I don't even know how long we've been doing this, probably about 30 minutes now. I appreciate all you guys who came through, spent some time with me to just sit back and chat. But yeah, that's going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. Get on out of here. I can't even talk. I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. So as always, guys, stay tuned for more, and I'll see you guys next time.